1988 novella titled Cabal, and follows a young man's journey as he transforms into a Nightbreed, who are monsters and creatures that inhabit the dark and twisted necropolis called Midian, which is just another rendition of the twisted world that is Clive Barker's imagination. The Nightbreed are a diverse array of supernatural beings, each with their own unique abilities, quirks, and fears. From the seductive and deadly Shunasasi to the grotesque, we will beat, so dim your lights and Nightbreed. Before we go into our endings a lot, thank you. Let's begin. Buttonface. Buttonface, played by the legendary horror filmmaker David Cronenberg, was the primary and overarching villain of Nightbreed. When he was not planning and plotting murders, he served people as a psychologist named Dr. Decker, someone who was always dressed in immaculate business clothes, except when he took off his veil and wore his infamous mask, which had a zipper where his mouth was supposed to be and buttons in place of his eyes. Apart from this, he wore chainmail gloves and carried a long knife with intricate engravings. His motivation behind the murders came from people not conforming to human norms, which soon took a more extreme form as he started killing families simply because they did not act, live, or look like he did. As Buttonface's killings increase, he starts to get more public and police attention. In order to blow off some of the heat on him, Decker convinced a disturbed patient named Aaron Boone that he was responsible for the Buttonface killings. Decker gives Boone some mind-altering drugs and tells him that he has one day to turn himself in. After a failed attempt at suicide, Boone meets a guy named Narcisse, who tells Boone about a place where monsters were accepted and lived together. This place was hidden under a cemetery called Midian. Boone reached Midian, but was turned into a creature named Cabal. Meanwhile, Decker convinced the cops that Boone was armed and dangerous, and Boone gets killed in an encounter. However, Boone's body disappeared from the morgue, and Decker suspected the existence of monsters living in Midian and decided to personally eliminate them, seeing them as the worst abominations in a world already full of monsters. He notified the Sons of the Free about the supposed nest of horrors, aka Midian, and accompanied them in their attempt to exterminate the Nightbreed. Decker's serial killer persona, Buttonface, kicked in, and he confronted Aaron Boone, who had become Cabal, the new champion of the Tribes of the Moon, or the denizens of Midian. Buttonface was no match for Cabal, and was eventually killed by him after murdering Narcisse, who had also become one of the Nightbreed. But to make things worse for everyone, a fallen priest named Ashbury used the blood of the Nightbreed's god, Baphomet, to resurrect Buttonface with the intention of eliminating the remaining survivors of the Tribes of the Moon. This caused Buttonface to become one of the Nightbreed, but even now he wanted to kill his kind. Shunasasi. Portrayed by actress Christine McCorkindale, there is precious little information about the mysterious Nightbreed named Shunasasi. The primary reason behind this is that in the novella, she was nothing more than a minor supporting character. Like the rest of her kind, Shunasasi was once a human, but was reborn as a Nightbreed following an extremely violent death. Of course, she lived in the underground cemetery community of Midian, situated in Sheerness, Alberta, Canada. Shunasasi's body was covered in fine needle-sharp quills, which she could project outward to protect herself from attackers. During a raid on Midian by police officers led by Captain Eigerman, Shunasasi managed to survive the assault thanks in part to the efforts of Aaron Boone, who helped to defend the Nightbreed. Boone later led the Nightbreed on a quest to locate a new haven where they could live in peace. It is quite interesting that Boone and Shunasasi had some kind of mental connection. Before arriving at Midian, Boone had a dream in which he saw a vision of Shunasasi. Similarly, Shunasasi also dreamt of Boone. Post the release of the film, she appeared in the Nightbreed comics that Marvel published between 1990 and 1993.
You must rebuild what you've destroyed. You must find
Baphomet. Well, there's little to no information about this Baphomet guy, whom the Nightbreed worship as their god. However, if we are to go by the comics, Baphomet is a mysterious being with immense powers. Before becoming a godlike entity, Baphomet used to be a monstrous creature of sorts, and there is little evidence to show that he ever was a human. In the movie, Baphomet tells Boone that he was prophesied to bring about the end of Midian, and charges him with finding a new home for the Nightbreed. Meanwhile, Ashbury seeks revenge on Baphomet and the Nightbreed. He presses Baphomet's blood to Decker's wound, causing him to spring back to life. So it is quite evident that Baphomet's blood has the ability to transform humans into Nightbreed. However, suppose we are to go by the religious accounts about Baphomet. In that case, he is a deity that has been associated with various esoteric and occult groups throughout history, including the Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, and Freemasons. The origin and nature of Baphomet are unclear, because different theories posit that Baphomet may be a composite of various pagan gods, a representation of spiritual enlightenment, or a symbol of the union of opposites. Some legends claim that the Knights Templar brought back the worship of Baphomet from the Holy Land, while others suggest Islamic or Gnostic beliefs that may have influenced it. Despite the ambiguity surrounding its origin, Baphomet has become a significant symbol in occultism and modern paganism.
Tonight, you leave the natural world behind, the life you lived.
Dirk Lylesburg. Lylesburg was a member of the ancient order called the Holy Freighters. These guys were basically a group of 12 who brought the severed pieces of Baphomet to Midian and constructed the necropolis to house the fallen god as well as his followers. And centuries later, Lylesburg was the last surviving member of the Holy Freighters. When Aaron Boone arrived at Midian, Lylesburg was the one who introduced him to the Nightbreed and helped him recover his lost history. Boone later became the savior of the tribes of the moon. During the Sons of the Freeze genocide against the Nightbreed, Lylesburg was shot in the forehead and killed by one of the sons while attempting to release the berserkers to defend his people. In the movie, Lylesburg is depicted as an elderly man with red eyes and long gray hair, including a long beard. But we suppose this most astonishing physical feature is his gill-like slits on each cheek that serve as lids for his secondary eyes. But you see, these eyes, they see more than you'd expect. When he opens these lids, he gains the ability to perceive a person's life memories, even if the person has forgotten them. Chocolat. Chocolat's story is one of our personal favorites as far as the characters in the Nightbreed universe are concerned. After the authorities uncovered a nest of priestly clothing containing 5 enormous eggs, 3 of the eggs hatched, revealing 3 perfectly human children, and all of these belonged to Chocolat. When Chocolat arrived to claim her young, she had to fight her kidnappers with tooth and claw in a battle that threatened the annihilation of everyone. Just as the conflict seemed to be coming to an end, one of the babes began to recite the Lord's Prayer, allowing Chocolat to escape with her children. Chocolat eventually made her way to Midian and became a member of the tribes of the moon. However, the fate of the 2 unhatched eggs has never been revealed, and her 2 human offspring have never grown up, seemingly stuck in infancy. However, the 3rd child was left behind and now resides in the Vatican, and it is this 3rd child who is the reciter in the movie. As far as her appearance is concerned, Chocolat has a pale purple claws and granite-colored skin that covers all visible parts of her body except her hands. Furthermore, her skin has a texture resembling pebbles or stony scales. Pelequin. After entering Midian, Boone is stopped by Pelequin. Despite Boone's claim of being a murderer, Pelequin can smell his innocence and attacks him, and anyone who is innocent or not a monster is not allowed in Midian. Due to Pelequin's bite, Boone is revived in the morgue, and he returns to Midian, where he is welcomed by Narcisse and introduced to Dirk Lylesburg. Pelequin is able to change his physical appearance to become even more frightening. This is demonstrated in the film when his dreadlocks spread out to make him appear more intimidating, and his teeth become longer and sharper. However, the book gives him a further grotesque appearance as he transforms into a 4-legged reptilian monster. This guy claims to be a member of the now extinct Qualm tribe. As far as his appearance is concerned, he looks quite frightening, even without transforming into his more animalistic self. Pelequin is an intimidating figure, with skin the color of dried blood, piercing blue eyes, and fleshy dreadlocks instead of hair. Pelequin is quite a unique Nightbreed. Furthermore, his entire body is covered in wheals, which could be a natural attribute of the species he belonged to before becoming a Nightbreed. But then again, the wheals could be a result of some kind of ritualistic scarring, but from the elements of design that the wheals have, the latter seems more likely. But you know what? Despite his ferocious appearance, he is full of human traits and is rather a soft person on the inside. Pelequin is a wild one, believing that any living thing, no matter if it's a plant, animal, or rock, is deserving of love. He's always on the prowl for a female creature to give his affections to, and he's not picky about their species. A man of love, we guess. This thirst for romance means that he's one of the only Nightbreed who leaves Midian, searching for anyone who will accept his lustful ways. Even though he's breaking the law by doing so, he's never been kicked out of the tribe because he's got the essence of a Nightbreed coursing through his veins, and many of the folks in Midian even call him father. Berserkers, serving as the more feral of the Nightbreed. These big ugly monsters called Berserkers all looked a bit different, but had the same overall appearance. They had weirdly shaped heads, were super muscular, hunched over a bit, and always ready to attack anything in their way. The Berserkers also have an interesting backstory, which we think is on the grim side of the balance. As the Second World War was coming to an end, the Germans knew they were losing. Some of these Nazi scientists, feeling desperate, started looking into more occult ways to fight. They started breeding and genetically modifying prisoners and soldiers to create the Berserkers. In the end, these monsters became crazy killing machines with endless strength and an insatiable thirst for blood. But as it happens with all guys who want to play God, the scientists had no idea what they were dealing with. The Berserkers ended up going crazy and killing anyone and everyone, even their own people. The German leaders realized it was a huge mistake and tried to put an end to it, but it was too late. The Berserkers ended up in Midian. In the movie, Cabal realizes that the Nightbreed would be annihilated when the Sons of the Free started attacking the Nightbreed, so he took this huge risk and released the Berserkers to fight back, and boy did they ever. The Berserkers tore the Sons to shreds, and the Nightbreed managed to make it out alive.
Remember me, Doctor? I was dying when you had your way with me.
Narcisse. Narcisse was the guy who was suspected of being a murderer, but he allowed his insanity to take over him and started cutting off all the skin and hair from his skull, except for his face. Furthermore, he also had these gnarly steel rings on his thumbs with sharp blades on them. Narcisse met Aaron Boone in a mental hospital and thought Boone was there to take him to Midian. Narcisse went nuts and ended up getting killed by Dr. Decker, but then something crazy happened that shocked Boone. Narcisse somehow came back to life as one of the Nightbreed and made his way to Midian. He even helped Boone break out later when the Sons of the Free went nuts and attacked Midian. Narcisse fought back with the rest of the Nightbreed, but sadly, Dr. Decker killed him again, this time for good, by chopping off his head. Although a rather good guy, Narcisse was clearly demented and didn't think straight. Having said that, he proved to be quite a friend to Boone.
Brothers and sisters, it's time to fight.
Cabal. We mentioned in the previous entry that Aaron Boone went on to become Cabal after his transformation. Now, Aaron Boone underwent a significant and rather horrid transformation in the novel, gaining the ability to shapeshift into a powerful humanoid creature after joining the Tribes of the Moon. However, in the movie adaptation, it wasn't as extreme. His transformation was limited to physical changes such as sharper teeth and occult glyphs on his body, as well as increased strength and resilience. Regardless of the differences in his physical transformation, in both versions, Aaron was prophesied by the god of the Tribes of the Moon, Baphomet, to be their savior from the Tribes of the Sun, or modern humans, who threatened the existence of the Tribes of the Moon, or Nightbreed. So after Decker told him that he had committed the button-face murders, Boone went into shock and horror. He simply couldn't live with the fact that he was a serial killer and wanted to die. Eventually, he learned from Narcisse about Midian. After arriving at Midian, Boone discovered what he was looking for, and two of its inhabitants, including a creature named Peliquin, who claimed Boone was innocent of his past crimes. Apparently, the Nightbreed could literally smell if you are innocent or guilty. Peliquin bit Boone before he escaped, but Boone was later killed by police led by Dr. Decker. However, Boone's body vanished from the sheer neck morgue. Peliquin's bite had turned Boone, and now he felt drawn to their blood and returned to Midian, where he was formally accepted into the Tribes of the Moon and given the new name of Cabal. Dr. Decker was skeptical about the mysterious disappearance of Boone's body and led the Sheer Neck police to Midian to find him. They apprehended Cabal, and during the search, Police Captain Eigerman learned about the Nightbreed. Eigerman formed the Sons of the Free, a group of paramilitary xenophobes, and led an attack on the tribes, with Dr. Decker joining them, seeking to destroy the creatures they considered abominations. Narcisse, who was resurrected and had become one of the Nightbreed, teamed up with Boone's girlfriend, Lori, to rescue Cabal. However, the Sons of the Free attacked Midian and inflicted significant damage. Cabal arrived in time to assist in the defense, and finally uncovered Dr. Decker's true identity as Buttonface. Although Midian was no longer a safe place for the Tribes of the Moon, Cabal led the survivors to a temporary refuge after the battle. Leroy Gaume. Leroy Gaume was part of a famous clown family from Europe, but things got messed up when the patriarch decided they should all start inbreeding to keep their comedic skills in the family. This horrible choice resulted in children with weird bodies and slow or twisted minds. What else was Gaume's old man expecting? Nevertheless, Leroy was born when his father was extremely old and weak, but he had strength enough to pass his talents to his offsprings. While teaching Leroy some tricks, like juggling eels, the old man up and died of natural causes. Leroy Leroy loved his father very much and decided to bury him in the necropolis of Midian so he could visit him whenever he wanted. And apparently, the smile on his dad's face just keeps getting wider over time. Creepy, right? When the Sons of the Free attacked Midian, Leroy was one of the Nightbreed who fought back. He got some extra appendages that make him a tough dude to mess with, but in the end, Midian perished. As far as his appearance is concerned, Leroy is a man of short stature with discolored teeth and a plump physique. He has a pair of long retractable tentacles protruding from his abdomen, each of which terminates in a 3-taloned claw that surrounds a yellow and red eye. Given his family's backstory, he prefers dressing in circus-style attire and adorns himself with excessive amounts of gaudy golden jewelry. Lude has a unique physical appearance that includes obsidian skin, 2 curved horns, small protrusions on his chin, and sharp talons. Some might compare his appearance to that of a traditional Christian demon. Lude is skilled in combat and often dresses in brightly colored clothing with floral patterns, a strange choice for someone who looks like him, but maybe our minds are just influenced by the socially accepted norms of a tough guy. Self-bashing apart, Lude is a strange figure. He openly admits that his conception involved a devil, and a devil may very well be his father. Despite the prejudices of those who view his tribe as evil due to their association with the old gods, he personally has little to no issues with his ancestry. He is the product of a satyr god and a mortal woman named Andrea Pate. However, his mother disowned him at birth, leaving him on a mountain to perish. Lude managed to survive, and his heroic tale of how he overcame the odds is something he simply loves to brag about. It took him 5 years to track down his mother, and he claims to have used his humor to make her break her vow of silence. After reuniting with Andrea, Lude lived with her for a year until she passed away. We wonder if she passed away of natural causes. Nevertheless, Lude eventually made his way to Midian and became part of the Nightbreed. Mexico. As cool as the name sounds, Mexico is another unique-looking Nightbreed. He's a quiet guy with dark skin and a super cool collar of hands growing in pairs on his long neck. He barely talks, and the other Nightbreed says he only speaks when he's feeling agitated, which isn't often, but don't let his silence fool you. Mexico is a total babe magnet. His hands do all the talking and the touching for him, which has earned him innumerable partners and lots of babies. Unfortunately, though, none of his offspring have inherited his hand collar powers, or at least none that have lived to tell the tale. Rumor has it that one of his sons was born with the same gift, but the mom went all psycho and smothered the poor guy. Radinka looks like just another girl, but there's one thing about her face that separates her from everyone: her eyes. She has these huge and weirdly frog-like eyes that kind of mess up her otherwise pretty face. But let's not despair, her eyes are more of an ability than a disability. Those eyes, they let Radinka literally see into the past. But there's another catch: she can't see what's happening in the present, only what already went down. So she spent most of her life trying to figure out how to piece together the past with what's going on around her now. She calls it the conjunction, and it's proof to her that reality is way more complex than we think. As far as her backstory is concerned, it's a pretty tragic one. The frog-eyed girl spent almost 5 years in Europe seeking treatment from several doctors in hopes of curing her unique condition. Although each one of them claimed to treat her of her affliction, she eventually came to the realization that they were simply interested in studying her as a scientific oddity rather than curing her. The weight of this was so heavy that she almost became insane, but she found hope that when she learned about Midian, the abode of all things unnatural, a place where she came to accept and embrace her condition. Anastasia was a big shot in the silent movie biz until she got into a bar fight over a woman she liked. She ended up with a scar and freaked out about losing future roles, so she searched for someone to fix her with a skin graft. After some useless doctors, she found an unorthodox physician who said he could give her the perfect graft. Unfortunately, the donor's skin, a dude called Nazim, started growing on her, with a mouth, an eye, and even a hand. Creepy, right? Anastasia tried her best to get rid of Nazim, but he was just as strong-willed as she was, so she decided to get revenge instead. Anastasia killed the man who scarred her and the quack who messed up her face. Knowing unwelcome consequences were waiting to greet her, she skipped town and joined a traveling circus full of freaks who didn't judge her. She thought she had found a home in these guys, but they were wrongly accused of murder, and angry locals killed most of them. The survivors fled to Midian, where Anastasia finally got the piece she was looking for, but the parasite was still on her head, which could think and talk on its own, and had the power to control Anastasia's actions whenever it wanted to.
Where's Spoon?
This way.
Onaka. Onaka was a skinny teenage boy with some strange tattoos on his arms and chest. He had 2 sunburst tattoos that actually looked pretty cool, to be honest, and a nipple piercing with some mysterious metal dangling from it. But the real kicker was his necklace made of rooster heads, and that's not something you see every day. But then this was a Clive Barker movie, so it's not a complete surprise. Onaka used to say that his tattoos were drawn by angels before he was born, but they were scared that God would get mad if he saw them, and that's why the angels made sure that he couldn't stand in the sun where God might catch a glimpse. He had some bad dreams about the angels coming back to tattoo him on the inside, where nobody could see. That's one messed up dream. Despite being over 100 years old when he died, Onaka looked like he was still in his early teens or just post-adolescence. Some people think it's because he was part of the tribes of the moon, but who knows? Maybe he just hit the genetic jackpot, or maybe he was something of a vampire. One thing that was for sure though, was that he couldn't handle the sun. Even a little bit of exposure could potentially kill him. Onaka met a tragic end when the Sheer Neck police arrested Aaron Boone on suspicion of murder. Looking for accomplices, they noticed Onaka watching them from a mausoleum and pulled him out into the sunlight. Due to his sensitivity to sunlight, Onaka began to burn and quite literally exploded, and his body turned into ashy rock pieces.
Your God burned him, right? I want to burn him back.
Ashbury. Father Ashbury was a fallen priest who was crucial in organizing the Sons of the Free, but he changed his mind when he saw that the Sons were killing women and kids too, so he ditched them and went deeper into the Nightbreed's catacombs. There he stumbled upon Baphomet, the Nightbreed's god, and swore his allegiance to Baphomet, but then the Sons of the Free set off a bomb to destroy the subterranean city, and Ashbury got sprayed with Baphomet's blood. This transformed him into one of the Nightbreed. After the attack, Ashbury found Dr. Decker's corpse and used Baphomet's blood to bring him back to life.
I'm gonna slit your throat.
Kinski. As per the Nightbreed Chronicles, Kinski fell in love with a woman, but ended up getting brutally rejected because of how he looked. So, Kinski resorted to taking a drug called St. Victor's Compound. The interesting thing about this drug was that it could transform how you looked based on whatever you imagined at that moment. Unfortunately, the drug messed him up, leaving him completely disoriented. In his confused state, he stared at the crescent moon in the sky, and as fate would have it, his face transformed to mimic the moon's crescent shape. When Kinski regained his senses, he tried to end his life by jumping into the Seine River. He reckons that he died and then came back to life, rising to the surface of the water with the moon the next night. Babette. Babette was a unique little girl who could transform into an animal, but her powers were not yet under her control. Her mom, Rachel, was also pretty special, since she could turn herself into a mist. But Babette had a big weakness. Much like Onaka, sunlight could seriously injure her. When Lori went searching for her missing boyfriend, Aaron Boone, in the Midian cemetery, she stumbled upon Babette. The poor girl was in her animal form and struggling in the sun. Luckily, Lori was able to help her and bring her to Rachel. As a thank you, Rachel spilled the beans about the tribes of the moon and helped Lori in her quest to find Boone. Rachel. Rachel is a stunning woman who seems totally normal at first glance, but behind her good looks lies the ability to transform into a mist that can move through anything in its path. She can even use this mist as a weapon by phasing it into someone's body. It kind of reminds us of Spider-Man's enemy, Sandman. Rachel was the first of the Nightbreed to meet Lori when she came looking for Boone. As we mentioned in the previous entry, the two quickly became friends after Lori saved Rachel's daughter, Babette. Later, when Boone was arrested, Rachel helped rescue him by phasing into the cell and taking out one of the guards. She was among the few Nightbreeds who managed to survive the destruction of Midian. Kushnir Day. First things first, Kushnir Day was a really ugly fellow, and his large tusks didn't really help his cause. If you are under the impression that it is just us who found him ugly, you're mistaken. He himself says that his tribe, Gogakeks, are the ugliest people on Earth, and all the other worlds combined. In fact, they are so hideous that they can only domesticate blind animals. Any animal with sight immediately attacks them. In fact, Kushnir and his tribesmen do not look at each other and use drums to communicate, but Kushnir's blood has been diluted because his ancestors probably mated with natural humans, and although this inbreeding gave him a lust for the weird and abnormal, he thinks that he's not ugly enough. Clive Barker's imagination continues to inspire generations of horror fans, as well as filmmakers. He is no Stephen King, but we're pretty sure that the Nightbreed creatures are a sincerely unique example of the terrifying creations that he has brought to life. Much like the mighty Pinhead, Barker doesn't think about what God thinks.
Do I look like